So this is a conversation I've been looking forward to having. We've been talking about doing this for a little while as part of like what we're doing on Cap Table. And then we had a little frenzy where there was just a lot of awards won. So we were joking and laughing and saying that we were going to get together and just and chop it up. And this is funny for me and I guess us, because this is a normal kind of Saturday afternoon where we would be plotted up in this house, having a drink and putting the world to rights. But big pleasure, big honor to have my two friends, my two brothers with me, Sayce Holmes-Lewis, Lee Anderson. And I think this is an interesting conversation because you've got three elements of the triangle here. You've got, somebody who's doing amazing work leading and building a business in our community. You've got an entrepreneur who's built a business from scratch. And then you've got me in the corporate world. So I wanted to get into a few of those different topics. Let's start with the awards. Sayce, MBCC, most inspirational person for the year.
Yeah.
That was just one of two. The other one, tell us about the other one.
Black Culture Archives.
Future Leaders.
Yeah, Future Leaders. So Black Culture Archives in Brixton. So that was done with research with UCL to find the best progressive leaders in their respective fields. So
right.
Got 40 progressive people from across the UK. So it's a big honor.
You're one of them.
Yeah, man.
Lee, you've been doing the awards thing as well this year. BPIC. Best minority-owned business this year.
Yeah.
How's that feel?
Massive. Especially because it's from our community as well, right? So, like, I went to a few awards, and it was nice because it was up against some really like established big corporations, really big businesses, going for like 100+ years. So to be up against those companies was good.
Right.
But then to be awarded within our community to say we are the best minority-owned business, it was really nice.
Yeah.
Really nice day.
So you won this award, and I went with you to another award ceremony. What was that one?
That was the Negotiator Awards,
Yep.
Property Negotiator Awards.
So we went to that one, and like LeBurn was nominated in three categories, and you were disappointed at that one. And I'm looking around the room going, like, there's probably 5,000 people in this room. It's like thousands of companies that have applied, hundreds that ain't even made nominations. And like LeBurn, which is a big company doing well, but relatively small compared to a lot of the other businesses in there that aren't being nominated. Like you guys were everywhere.
In hindsight, it was a big achievement. In hindsight, but of course, that you want to not just be in the room. You want to win.
Yeah.
It's just natural, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, it was nice to be to be in that conversation. I said that to the team. Like we should also now look at ourselves as like we're pushing, like we're in the room,
right?
But now next year we want to be in the conversation about winning one of those awards,
right?
Because now we're representing,
right?
We're the face of that representation, so we need to be excellent in everything now.
Yep. And this is a business that, like, you started in 2013, but we're gonna come back to that. But Sayce that we've known each other a long time.
Yeah.
For the record, when I first discovered Sayce, I didn't like him.
Yeah. I was impartial, man. I was like, yeah, cool.
It was hostile. It was hostile when our relationship started. It was definitely hostile. Like a very complicated, like, family situation.
Yeah. So not many people will know that Dean's the uncle to my son. So I was with Dean's sister for some time, and then had my son.
Right.
We were also jostled for the same position at a football club. You won that battle.
Oh, was you in the same thing?
Yeah. That's how we met. That's how we actually met. Like,
okay.
And it was like,
we knew of each other.
Yeah.
And then the football team put us like in each other's company.
Yeah.
For the first real time. Like before that, we'd been in maybe a room or party or whatever. It was the first time we were in the same room. But Sayce is right. Like at the beginning, obviously him and my sister are having a child together. They're young, so they're trying to figure out that dynamic. And really, my side of the family are trying to not like Sayce. So the stories that are coming out about Sayce are like wild and exotic. So I checked out of it and decided to dislike any boy associated with them. So when Sayce came along, it didn't even matter.
Yeah, straight away.
But he taught me a lesson about being like a bigger man and just not really engaging in it. And then when I got to the age, I had to look at myself and say, he's raised an amazing boy, as we know, like our nephew. He's an amazing young man.
Definitely.
And he's been an impeccable father. He's been brilliant to my sister throughout. So I hit an age where I had to say like, I'm sorry.
I respect it though, man. I respect it because you invited me into your home that day. It's what, 2.5 years ago now.
Yeah.
And you just said, look, I apologize for being hostile. And I was like, I just took it at face value. And I was like, you know what? I respect that.
So the fact that you didn't engage in all of that nonsense, like look at the life it's created for us as friends, for our sons, for the group now.
It was huge.
So
you even entrusted your son to me.
Yeah.
You never do that, you know. And we
yeah.
went away to Devon, we camped and did that. And it was a beautiful trip.
We first met taking the mickey out of each other online, and then like
so funny.
we sat down and had dinner. Yeah, it's mad, like the weird adult male reverse Tinder date. Like
It's awkward talking about it. It's like, actually, is that how we met each other? We met off Twitter.
No, we've got mutual friends, but we were like bantering each other online, and then we ended up in the same. We had dinner, like we ended up at a group dinner or something, and then realized like we're basically the same person. But that's another thing, like watching your entrepreneurial journey, like over the time that we've known each other. Because I remember what's funny to me about seeing you win the award now, which like I'm stoked for, is when we first met and you were kind of early, a bit not that early, but still figuring out LeBurn and wrestling with yourself about whether to spend money on hiring people or carry on doing everything like yourself. And that was a big inflection point.
Massive. I was thinking about it the other day because talking to my wife, and I think you get to a point when you start something on your own, you get to a point of having to do everything yourself, right? So you're the marketer, the salesperson, the guy that answers the phone, customer service. You're the legal person. You're everything. You're everything, right? So by default, like you know everything about your business. So then you get to the point where you can't do everything because you're growing, but you're the only person. You're the only person at that point that you trust to actually do it because you're doing it. So I was wrestling, as you go to your point, I was wrestling with like, okay, how do we grow? Do we grow and I grow a business, or do I just like sit on the money, like just keep the cash flow coming in? It comes like a cash cow business. And I decided to want to grow a business. And then that's when there's like trails of things that you just don't understand. Right? You're like, right, I need someone to answer my phone. So now you need to understand job descriptions, all of this stuff, hiring process, inductions. Like, okay, now they come in, then you're like, oh, there's a pension you need to understand. I don't understand pensions. There's HR, all of this stuff. I just want you to answer my phones. That's all I really want.
I'll go through that right now, literally.
Right. So that process of doing that was a learning curve. But it was like, I'm going to go into a world that I don't understand. I kind of like that. I kind of like my back's against the wall. And I like my back's against the wall. It's actually the best version of me. I'm just like, all right, cool. What do we need to do? Right. So I was always like, I'm learning something new. This is much better. Like we're going to take our time organically. We're not going to take any finance. We're not going to put bring any investors on, mainly because I wanted to learn. I knew I was learning. I was in the learning stage.
The hump of going from, this is my business, I know every element of it, I can do this all on my own. So like it's low risk to now there's 10, 20, 30 people working for you, calling in sick. You know, leaving for other jobs.
You was on the phone like, what? You were fine yesterday.
He's like, what do you mean you're not coming into it? I understand. I understand this concept.
What impresses me the most about the journey of LeBurn and your journey is just how pragmatically like you walk the journeys, right? So when we was talking about the award and I'm saying to you, do you realize you've gone from like not having a business because you was doing property management on your own as an individual, right? And doing investments on your own. Then you've started a company, built that company, grown that company has hired people, that company has grown, that company has got office space, that company has bought other companies, and now that company is winning awards. And you're kind of like, oh that's it. That's what's been happening, right? But that's just you. You're just like one foot in front of the other. Okay, we're doing this now. Today we're buying company. Do you like look back on it and have a wow moment?
If I was being honest, I try to, but no, I don't, because I'm always thinking about what the other things I'm working on. So just like I'm now frustrated that the things that I'm working on hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So when I get a success, everyone's around me is like, we should be celebrating this. And I'm like, to celebrate, like that this is going on.
thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is going on, and it isn't done yet. It isn't done yet. So, but like with conversations that me and you've had and other people, they're like, no, you have to take a moment to just mark the moment.
Be present.
And that's kind of what I've seen this year. Like we've marked the moment quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, actually, it is important.
If I have a slightly good day, I'm like, yeah, we're having a party. Like,
Yeah, no, I was saying, boy, the dinner jackets. I put a new budget just for the dinner jackets.
Yeah, tomorrow.
if it goes slightly good, no, but there's so many downs. Like,
Yeah,
and
right.
you like we carry all of the pressure of like being leaders, like just in the business sense and our family sense. We carry all of that pressure, and when other people are winning, like for us or alongside us, we're the first to
Celebrate.
carve it out for them.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm making sure, because when it goes bad as well,
Yeah, it's all falls on our shoulders.
you. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's it. You got to come up with the answers.
right,
Yeah.
right,
You have to.
Did you celebrate MBCC?
Fully, man. I had to, because that's my first like real solo kind of award away from Mentivity, and that's based on my work, which is an extension of Mentivity, you know, in the community and the work with the police and things like that, and just trying to support people and bring the community together.
Yeah.
So, you know, I made a big thing out of that because I took my mum, you know, and I'd never really taken her brought her into my world. She worked for Mentivity at one point, but I never really thought, okay, let me bring her and take her out and enjoy the evening in Birmingham. So we went at hotel, went up the morning. Like, it was just nice to treat my mum, because she's giving me so much. So yeah, I was shocked, you know, because I was up for the award the year before in the same category.
Okay.
And I didn't win, and there was a worthy winner. So I just went for the ride, you know, and when I won, I just...
So you had no idea?
No idea. They started reading out my bio that we had submitted, which Nat and I had written. And I was just like, no way. I couldn't believe it. We looked at each other and she was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And it was just, you did cuss me for it though.
Then you had a little cry.
He said the funniest voice. You embarrassed me.
I sent him a voice note. I sent him a message. I said, congratulations. I did everything correct. And then I just had to be myself for a minute. I sent him the voice note. I said, if I ever see you doing this again, people know we're friends. Like, you can't be doing this.
He loves that, right?
No, but
it was a beautiful thing.
No, it was, man. And I think that was just a outpouring of emotion, because I've been doing this work in the community for 24 years.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't do it for recognition or for accolades. I do it because it's right and it's within my heart.
Yeah.
And I just want to leave a legacy behind me.
That's probably the thing that I admire most, like, about you, like that selflessness and the amount that you put into Mentivity, like the days, the hours, the like campaigning that you do for Mentivity, to put all of that like back into our community. Like, I'm a capitalist. I go to work, you know, to make money. Like, that's why I go to work.
Yeah.
So, and this man has like dedicated his life to doing that work. Even the training of the police force, for which like people know you've been paid, but I know for you that's more than a job. Like, that's not just a consulting day or a way to earn money.
Yeah.
Like, you care about changing the way the police behave.
No, for real. I mean, because I know what it feels like, and it's about empathy and increasing that with people. But it's not really about me getting paid. It's about me, a statement really, because of what they did to me and what they do to so many other young black boys and girls, you know, in terms of abusing them and violence and things like that. I just want to show people that I'm there for you. Yeah. And if I can inspire the next generation to do more than what I'm doing, then that's it. That's my job done.
We was talking earlier and you were saying Mentivity has helped over 25,000 young people.
Yeah.
At 25,000.
That's
It'll be 7 years. 7 years in January. So
you're basically the government. Like, you probably help more young people than exactly. Like, in terms of real help. And you were saying new partnership on the horizon. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, Goldman Sachs, you know, that's a big name, you know, to support a small organization which was set up initially as a limited company, because I didn't want to go down the charitable route. Then I have the CIC, which is limited by guarantee, where I can get the funding from Goldman Sachs. But the new partnership is with Spotify, so which is big, man. I've been working on that for 6 weeks. I couldn't believe it. We're going to donate a sizable amount for you to commence a partnership, and then let's figure out the rest as we go along and get more black young people into tech, you know.
Because I know we can't get into the the details of it, but we're talking about 7 figures.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're into millions between these two organisations to
Yeah.
support the work.
Yeah, it will be, over the next 5 years, that's what it will be. And that's going to be the main focus, because it's about bringing the corporate sector closer to young people who they actually do want to employ, but don't know how to engage. So we're the middle ground.
6-7 years ago, we were arguing about representation. 9 other members of his family saying to him, like, there's a representation problem. And Lee would be sitting there arguing with everybody going, no, there isn't. No, all of my friends are fine. They're all successful. They're all brilliant dads. So when you keep telling me these negative stereotypes of like black men or whatever, I refuse it. But your views change now a little bit.
In those moments, I fight massively, because I'm like, no, there's loads of people that are doing amazing things.
Yeah.
You just don't know them. I can't just forget and ignore all the people like you, like all the other people that we know in our circle and our outer circle that are doing well. That's just, to me, that's disrespectful.
Our circle is not a normal regular circle. Like there are many circles like it, but it's not like a normal thing.
I agree that representation is important. Now, it's important for me to come out a bit more, because I'm naturally more like of an introvert. Like, didn't really see the point of social media massively like showing what we did, and I still don't do that. But the little bits that we do, I see the impact of the replies and comments of Ali. Like, you're being really inspirational. Like, and I'm like, am I? I might need to be more aware of what I'm saying.
I've just been with you as well. When people come up and they're like, yeah, I was working on this deal and I watched your story and I did what you said and it happened, or I got the deal, or it was going wrong, and then I saw what you said and I did like proper practical stuff.
100%. Like now, that's more what I lean into. I'm like, oh, actually, people are looking.
You can't say you're not a property guru, because, like, again, I know the numbers. So LeBurn has helped like thousands. You're now into the thousands of landlords that you've been helped. You help me because all of the property investing that I do, or we do as a family, or we do personally as a family, like we do all of that with you. So, like, at what point do you become a guru? What line do we have to go? When does it happen?
Yeah. I've been in property for long, like since 2005. So I definitely got the experience.
When you reach out to him and you want his opinion, make sure he gives it to you. And do exactly what he says. If it goes wrong,
it's my fault.
It's definitely. Well, we're talking about our sons, which is like another crazy part of this little circle, because there's our 3 boys, plus my son's cousin on his mum's side, and they're all 18 to 16.
They are hilarious.
They're hilarious, and they're all really, really.
I see them on the phone sometimes when they're FaceTiming. I get drawn into a conversation for about 2 minutes, and I'm just laughing, like listening to them. And they ask me like, Uncle Sayce, like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, nah, that's dead. And they'll be like, yeah, see, I told you. And then they're talking like. But I love their energy, man.
But you see that representation like topic. This is why I think our sons are so blessed, because. We've got the 4 of them, right? And they've got an uncle like doing what you're doing. They've got an uncle who's doing what you're doing. They've got an uncle who's doing what I'm doing, right? So this is what these boys are seeing on a daily basis. And your son now is the budding entrepreneur.
Love it.
In fact, this conversation is sponsored by Dream On. In fact, all of these conversations, and I'm going to speak to him because he's going to pay me. He's paying me for doing it. He's definitely paying me. But he started his own clothing brand.
Yeah. For his birthday, it must have been, I can't remember, between 10 and 12. I gave him £1,000, like in cash, in a box, and on the caveat that I'm not going to give you any money throughout the year. At the end of the year, whatever you have, that's what I'm gonna match for your Christmas present. Right? So if you spend it all next year, you get nothing.
Nothing.
So then open the conversation up about how can I make money, right? Just organically. And then so we had that conversation. It's like, well, you've got 2 real ways. You can create a service, you can create a product. Maybe like a couple of weeks or so went by, and it's like, oh, Dad, I want to do hats. Okay, how are you going to sell? Because you can sell to your friends and family. Of course, we're going to support you. What happens now? Like you sold 20, 30, 40 hats to my friends, your aunt, your cousin. You've done all that. You still got 10 hats left. Now what? I don't know. All right, well, maybe go to the high street and see if you can sell a hat. He sells one hat. He's uncomfortable. He comes back, but I was so proud of him. 'Cause I didn't think he would even do that.
Yeah.
And it's just like kept on going. And now he's doing things like raising finance.
Yeah.
Like getting grants. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
His hustle's unbelievable.
And I think for us, where we grew up, I grew up in the council estate, Ellsbury Estate, 24 years. Resilience is something which is embedded in us.
Yeah.
Whereas now, when you look at young people and their resilience, because they're not being challenged and they don't have to overcome adversity, it's like, I couldn't do that, so I gave up. Or I'm gonna go do something. Like for us, there was no chance. There was no option. We had to be like, well, I want to play professional football, or I want my business. This has to work. Otherwise, my existence is over. Like it's a wrap. So for us, like you said, having your back against the wall, the only way you can go is forward. Some of these young people, they've got so many different options because of their phones and what they can do. We've got to try and part that in some way, and with cameras, the same kind of thing. It's like, right, I need to know how much you're spending each month on your travel, on your lunch, on this, because we need to keep a track on spending.
They have to learn, not just our children, all kids, they have to learn financial management.
Yeah.
And they're not going to learn it at schools.
No.
That's not what schools are designed to do.
The way we educate them, which I agree with, is we allow them to go without. You agree with that, Lee?
100%. I think the earlier the better, because they're sponges. I think the younger you can teach them, it doesn't matter how much money they've got, because my opinion is our job is to create the safety net.
Yeah.
Right? So if you do fall, you're never going to fall and hurt yourself, because that's my job.
Yeah.
But if you fall a little bit, cool, understand what it feels to fall.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. You're just never going to get hurt. So far as I can make sure you don't get hurt, I feel like I've done my job. But you have the younger, in my opinion, the younger you can learn what it feels like to fall, and then also know, okay, actually it's not too bad, the better, you're set.
If now Mentivity's funded into 7 figures, 25,000 young people helped, like at what point, similar to like a little bit like Lee where we're saying, when are you the guru? Like at what point are you saying, I've cracked it, like this is a success, I'm a success?
I think when Mentivity can run itself and have the impact that it's having now on a far greater scale. Like I'm talking about going to Birmingham, to Manchester, to Liverpool, the major cities where we're having issues with young people, but also society in general, and how we can actually bring people together to solve those problems. That for me will be success. If I can change the mindsets of some young people to get closer towards their dreams and their passions, representation. If it wasn't for Ian Wright, I wouldn't have played football. Then if it wasn't for my mentors and coaches in football, then I wouldn't have become a coach. I wouldn't be doing these things that I'm doing. So, because I saw them doing it, I was like, well, this is what normal black men do, like you said. So I thought, right, this is what I've got to do.
Why has it become such a passion for you? Because all of our growing up experiences are not too different. Like, we're all quite similar. But you've chosen this path. Like, why is it so passionate for you?
Because I know what it feels like to be at rock bottom. Father leaving the household, being marginalized in education, being assaulted by police. Like a lot of my experiences have left me at rock bottom where there was nowhere else to go but up.
It's amazing. Like it's an amazing, beautiful thing. Like I have the same kind of belief that we've got this responsibility to put ourselves in positions that other people can look at us and say, okay, that's a positive thing. Like that's a good thing being done. If he can do it, I can do it too, or I can follow that a little bit. I just think it's beautiful that you have given your entirety, your entirety to that. That's a different,
it's a different mindset. But
and what about you? Like so we're thousands of landlords in, we're hundreds of people helped, we're like millions of pounds made and turned over. Even though you're the stingiest guy I know financially. I don't know, this guy's the stingiest guy.
Don't start this.
Say it all the time.
This guy is
It's Kenya.
Listen,
this guy is the stingiest guy.
let me explain something.
I had to be like you.
No, let me explain something. He says all of this, but he's exactly the same. He's exactly the same. The things he banters me about, he does exactly the same thing.
No.
Let's not go into the stories. I've got so many of them. I've got so many. I don't know if we need to do this.
This guy's the stingiest guy I know. I was saying last night, you see if Lee spends like thousands of pounds on anything, I guarantee you, it's been in the planning for months.
Oh yeah. There's a spreadsheet.
So no.
There's a spreadsheet for everything.
No. If you catch him somewhere and you go, what about this? You go, oh my God, that is amazing. Do you want to do this? Oh, I would love to do that. Okay, it costs £1,000. He's like, No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it, right? If you go to him in 8 weeks' time,
Right.
we're going to do this thing, and it costs
on it.
£2,000,
Yeah.
he'll do it. If you catch him with the no-look, big money spending, he can't bring himself to do it. Like, that's number one, how we know he's stingy. Number two, how we know he's stingy. Like, we go away together multiple times a year, normally, right? So, I've said to Lee for years, Lee, can we go in business, please? Like, can we manage this? And I'm not being bougie. I've worked hard in my life. Like, people know I've had nothing for a long time. Okay, and I got to a point where I experienced business class. I was like, it's nicer up here. I agree, it's not value for money. Like, it's very overpriced, but it is just nice. Can we just go in business class? He's like, no. I said, come on, Lee, please. No, he refused it. So I'm sending him the prices. He's like, absolutely no way. I'm saying to him, it's out of order because you're smaller than me. Like,
He's trying to banter me into it. And I'm like, nope, that's not going to work. Not going to work.
Right? So here's what happens. So we get to the airport to go away. So we've all booked in economy, like row 749.
It was free in economy.
Last of the plane.
Right? We get to the airport to go to Vegas for 3 days. It was in 2020. I remember it. Get to the airport, check in. Me and Dan check in, cool. He goes to check in, they're like, he hasn't done his ESTA or something. Yeah, it's ESTA. Yeah. So there's no ESTA. So he's like, I just did it, or I did it an hour ago, it'll come through. So now we're on edge. Long story short, he can't board the flight, right? So I'm in economy. He's nowhere to be seen coming the next day. I'm in economy. I am furious. I'm furious. Anyway, so we land in Vegas. Speaking to Lee, he's like, yeah, sorted. We're going to be out like later or whatever. Go on Lee's Instagram. I see pictures of Lee and Shireen eating their food in business class. I said, what? They've got the little table out and the cloth is there. They're eating in business class. I said, what? He said, but we missed that flight. I just thought,
Let's have it all.
To question the entire friendship. Think about stopping or retiring.
I have a number. I have a figure, a cash figure that I think, if we got there, when we get there, that's like, okay, cool, we are comfortable. I don't know if that means we've stopped or that means like
you do less.
Yeah, I'll probably do less. So yeah, there's a financial figure, but in terms of like goals and like what additional things, I just think I'm always thinking. So I don't think that will change. Like even if I have that, when we reach that number, I still think I'll be on to the next thing. Because I can't, unless I just change as a human being, I don't see. Yeah, I don't see.
Always climbing.
I'm always thinking of the next thing. We've got a 10-year plan, right? So within 5 years we should be there. In the next 5 years we should be ready to setting out how
for others.
Yeah, like so that in 10 years' time our whole structure is set up where we are completely comfortable for the rest of our life. Right. And whatever things we're into, we're waking up only to benefit organizations or things for other people.
Yeah. But why do you think we've all got that energy about helping other people?
Like some of the things where people's come to me and they might have been on the, let's say, the wrong side of the tracks, and they've come to me, they're interested in property, and they're like, Lee, can I pick your brains on this? Can I pick your brains on that? Like, I get more joy in having those conversations and seeing that person now, or those people now are able to make a living for themselves in a legal way, than having to continue to go down potentially a different path. Right. So obviously they still got to do the work. I've taken like a 2% like credit out of anything that they've done. Yeah. But just that attachment to it, I get a lot out of that. I get a lot out of that.
My brother's the chief delivery officer. My mum worked for Mentivity at one point. My sister is the administrator for Mentivity. My other sister, she's a mentor and practitioner for Mentivity. My cousin Carl, he's a mentor, senior mentor and facilitator for Mentivity. So I'm also trying to put people on that are great at what they do and also pay them well for it, because I'm trying to break that structure in terms of people that give to people and support other people's children or do social work. You should get paid more than a lot of other people in society, because you're giving so much of you, you know, and I feel that. So, you know, teachers will get bottom dollar, you know, for giving 70 hours a week. And it's like you are struggling and you have to go and coach on a Saturday and Sunday and you're working 7 days a week. So I'm trying to break that mold and show people that, look, you should be rewarded for doing that work.
Yeah.
You know, it's important, but also that you're valued, because it's important that you're valued in those situations. And I know what it's felt like to not be valued in organizations. And when I left the last charity that I worked for, I was like, watch, I'm going to blow you lot out of the water, because what I'm doing is not only going to be linked to sport, but it's about being authentic, you know, and doing it the right way, and getting people essentially to do the work, but get a piece of that pie as well.
Yeah.
And like I said about social mobility, it's so important.
Yeah. So let's touch on like family, because that's something else that we all share, like a very strong like family element. But people will say like you don't see that as often, right? So we're both married. You have a long-term partner. Like people say you don't see that like so much. So like how has it become that important to you, and why do you think we don't see it as prevalent in our culture or in our community?
I don't think there's an emphasis on it. I think there's always there is a negative emphasis on what's not
family.
happening. Yeah, and what's not happening with family. We don't celebrate it routinely within our communities, but also we seem to idolize as people within the media that might be doing it. But then when someone is doing it as our next door neighbor, we just don't see it. You know, so like when people used to talk about the Obamas, for example, and like, oh, look at that family. But I'm like, I know tons of families that are like that are functional and working together and are progressive. And so it's not like a unicorn in that sense. So I think also the stereotypes around family, around black men, in terms of black men being deviant and being thugs and all these different things that we might be told in society. And then we talk about women, oh, strong black women, and that's all they are. You know, it's a myth for me personally, because I think there's so much more to what we are as a people, you know, and because we don't control our narrative, we can't then see what is actually routine in a lot of communities.
Actually, I never thought about it that way, the way you just said it. If you think about the branding of like the black man, like the prominent branding of the black man is negative, and the way you just said it hit it for me, like, you know, strong black woman, because that is all about independence and everything else, right? So there's nothing talking about the importance and the strength of the balance. of the unity and the balance.
Well, I think if we're looking at social media as the platforms that kind of create these conversations and stories, there's not many. We're not on the social media space in terms of like married men talking about marriage. Right. It's normally, when I look at those conversations, it's a bunch of single people talking about how relationships should be. So it's not like a panel of married men talking about the roles and responsibilities of marriage. It's normally like single people saying like the roles should be this or it shouldn't be this. Or this shouldn't. So we haven't really got that representation outwardly of what relationships and family and those sorts of things are like. And that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means
it's
we're
harder
not
to see.
Yeah, we're not out there talking about it.
You mentioned it earlier. That is one of the reasons why, like, I've decided to be more, I guess, visible with the different things that are going on. Because it's an interesting little club that, like, we have our circle, long-term relationships. We've got kids, and it's perfectly normal for us to go out to dinner, spend time with each other. You cook for all of us. Like, you've got all of these things which are just absolutely normal. Like, to do anything else would be absurd. Do you know what I mean? So it becomes very normal for us. But what I always force myself to remember is, if you're outside of that circle, this is extraordinary. This looks crazy. Like, do you know what I mean?
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or something.
But even also in the circle, like little things that will happen in the circle that just always nudge up what's normal. Like, we're always creating like this new little standard of normal within the circle, right?
100%.
So
That's true.
In the last 3 years, we've all been away together. Like, we've been away together multiple times. We've been away together. So it's just kind of like normal, right? We 4 years ago, I think 4 or 5 years ago, we took the 4 nephews away together. So now you listen to them, and they're saying, when DJ, who's the youngest, finishes school, they're going Ibiza together. Right? So, and for them, they're looking at us going, yeah, like we're gonna go away together.
Yeah,
Like, what else would we do?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
And we're looking at them saying, no, but you're children. You're not gonna go away together.
We're gonna come. We'll be on the island.
You're not even all allowed to London together. Like, what are you talking about? But for them, they're just like, yeah, we're always away together. Like, because they've all been. So you just keep nudging up these normals, and it makes our circle a bit richer. I think, like richer in terms of experiences and what's normal. Definitely. But then people on the outside looking in, and I've had we're always socializing together, and from time to time we might be socializing together with our circle of people, like other people who aren't in this room, but anytime we're saying we're going to do something, there's that group. And then every now and then we might have another friend who we're quite close to, but they're just not part of that circle. They come along, and then you talk to them the day afterwards, and they're like,
they're blown away.
Yeah, they're just like, what is this Disneyland thing that you guys have created? Like, what? Like, explain this to me. Like, what is this?
Yeah, I'll be real. That's been my outlook. Like in the beginning, like as you integrated me, and I was just like, this is mad. This is crazy. Like this is, and I'm just like, everyone. The energy is great, and it's just like everything's progressive, and it's all aspirational, and it's like. I'm very like immersive when it comes to my environment. So when I'm in that environment, I'm starting to like adapt to what you guys are doing and just like, wow, like, you know, they're doing this and they're doing that. And I'm like, cool, I think I'm going to level up, not like in competition. Like, it's like, cool, I'm going to step up. And like, I see you pushing through. And I'm like, cool. And then I see you taking breaks, like you're resting. I'm like, cool, he's having fun Semba. You know what I mean? We're in fun Semba. And I'm like, cool, that's for me on Monday. It's fun Semba, that's it. So yeah, I just love to see it. And even when, you know, you won your awards and I was there, you know, it's just amazing, man. Just to be there, just to be a part of that. I love it, man. I seriously love it. And sometimes I kind of pinch myself like, is this really life? You know, is this really life? Because when I was younger, I never saw this.
You never saw this?
At all.
100%.
At all. So yeah, it's powerful, man. Really powerful.
It's so interesting, as you're saying, that's touching on like the power of the circle, and we all sharpen each other.
Yeah.
So he was talking about the awards, right? And we're saying like, okay, we've been out about 4 or 5 times, all lined up for Dean, right? Like throughout the year, you won your award. I was like, I need to win an award.
By the end of 2020.
I was like, I need to bring an award back into the camp. I don't know what award we're going to win, but we need to win something.
Coming back to camp empty-handed.
I tried.
But that's what it is, isn't it? It's like, okay, cool. Like we see Dean doing those things, but okay, what's going on in that lane? Like this award conversation. Then you've done the same thing. And you're like, okay, like we need to be in the conversation of awards. So all of a sudden now we're in our group. We've all won awards. So it just we all sharpen each other.
It is a beautiful thing, and that's something I've talked about a lot, like the power of the circle, and this circle, and like my circle. I always say it's probably the number one influence in anything I've achieved. Like in the last 8, 9, 10 years, it's been the power of that circle that has helped me do that for the reasons you described. Like we got a beautiful thing where anytime one of us achieve anything, we do gifts to each other. So now we're in this crazy gift competition, but it's just like you said, it's like a progressive, beautiful thing. Like, okay, now I've got to think because I did a pen, I've done a bottle of this, I've done, so now. It's like a beautiful, it's like a beautiful energy.
I need to say you haven't got him. Sorry, go. But it's like, yes, that's a good one.
The other part of that as well, though, is it's just made me cut off a lot of people. Like I'm just like, but the energy I get from you and the time that I spend with you, and when we're like sitting in St. Lucia just talking and drinking rum or whatever, like that natural, progressive, supportive, encouraging, helpful energy that I get from you. And like you say, we've been in each other's lives in a meaningful way probably 4 or 5 years. I've known you 15 years. And I don't get the energy from you. So this relationship makes me all right to go, I don't need that one anymore. You know what I'm saying? And then like we've been friends probably 10, 12 years. I go, the energy I get here, you're supposed to be closer to me and known you longer, maybe even family. I'm not getting that from you. I'm good. Do you know what I mean? So
it's easy to spot.
It's not just the power of the circle, as you say, the sharpening, making us better, making us more progressive, which is one aspect of it. It helps me recognize, oh, you're actually not, you're only a 7 out of 10 friend. I've got 9s and 10s. So why am I going to give my hours to 7s when I've just like 9s and 10s, and it's so effortless as well. Like so it's helped me in both of them ways.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to, and it's exactly that. But going back to the awards, I think one thing is important for us to say is that, and we said it, kind of touched on it, that we don't do it for that, but the recognition and the attention that comes with it allows us to do more. You know, and that's really my motivation now. It's like, cool, like if I get an accolade and that puts me into a whole different, you know, sphere, and I can actually extract more money to bring to the community, then that's great. Like, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like even like 2 weeks ago, I did a talk at Oxford University, which even now saying it's mad. You know, like I did a talk at Oxford University. I know.
University.
And it was just like, but then it was just me doing a fireside talk talking about resilience in business. And I'm not like the biggest businessman. I'm learning as I go along, but mine's a different kind of lane and how I'm doing it. But talking about resilience in business, in life and sport, you know, which I've been a coach for 24 years. So sitting there talking, and then afterwards, the way people just come up to me like, right, I need to support you and what you're doing, and I need to give some money to Mentivity. I know this person at Amazon, and I'm just like, okay, how did I get here? But I'm just being who I am, and if we can get these accolades to do more, then that's the reason why we're doing it.
They create the platform. They create the platform and put us in the conversations.
I think a lot of it, as I will talk for myself, is because you're busy working just on yourself or the business, you don't really think, because you know where you want it to be. You just think like, oh, this isn't where it needs to be. So what's there to talk about? So it's not until you start getting more public, and I've begun doing that, when people are like, oh, actually, this is amazing. And you're like, is it?
I want to be where you are.
They're like, exactly that. And you're just like you're blown. Like I'm kind of blown away and surprised at the same time. And then it does make you sit back and think, oh, actually, I did do that, and I did say I was going to buy another business, and we bought a business. So we had this conversation beginning of last year, right? No, end of last year, and we was doing like, we always do like, okay, what's the goals for next year? So I'm gonna buy a company, and then I think by sort of January.
By the end of January. I was like, he said in November, next year, really want to buy a company. And end of January, I was like, what's happening? What's the point of this? And he bought a business.
Sick. I love
I'm like, right, cool. I got to come get you. Got to go out to celebrate.
Man.
Bought him a bottle of wine from the year that he started LeBurn.
Love that.
But it goes back to what we was talking about. It goes back to like, run your circle, and then also seeing what other people are doing, and not necessarily being like envious, but learning from them, right? And then being able to apply it to you, right? So you might be in one lane and comfortable in your lane, but you can see what's going on in another lane, right? So we've seen Dean, you know, his accomplishments with buying businesses and how he's growing and the value in those things. So that opens that conversation, right? It opens like, what's going on over there? What happens in that lane? Like, never heard of this lane. Like, what's going on? And then you start understanding, and you're like, okay, that's what you do over there.
And I can actually do that.
Like you can do that in your own section, and that's how you can grow as well, right? So then, but those conversations or those thought processes might not come in to your head if you're not around the conversation, or unless you're around the circle where we're sharpening each other, right? But also it goes back to like your energy, because some people might see those accomplishments and not see that as a positive, see that as a negative. So it does go back to who you are as an individual. But I'm always like, I learn so much from everyone. Like I get so much value out of just listening to everyone and anyone. Like I can sit in the room and I could be quiet, and people won't even realize I'm there sometimes.
I've seen it.
And then they're like, Leo, you're right. I'm having a whale of a time. I'm just absorbing. I love it. Because I know, like, once I get it, cool, I'm going to apply it here. And that's what the business acquisition was about. Like, you understand, okay, what's different ways to grow value in your business? Because we've always been very much like B2C. Like everything's been directly to each landlord, right? So then you're like, oh, actually, hold on. The same energy now for me to do one deal, and maybe we do a block, or we buy a business and it's got 50 properties in it, or 100 properties in it, 200 properties in it. That same conversation is the same the same time, in essence, if I'm doing individual deals, right? So it just makes way more sense, and we can add way more value. But I don't learn those things, or those seeds aren't planted unless I'm seeing and then I go, okay, let me now go and learn and study about that world, right? So then you go and do a course. I could easily come and sit down with Dean and be like, Dean, let me come and pick your brain for an hour or whatever, and he's going to give me the time and give me all the answers, right? But I go and say, right, I'm going to now do a course in financial management, understand it, so that if I do ever need a conversation with Dean, I get the lingo. I understand the terminologies. They're not having to talk to me about like explain to me what return on investments are. It's a waste of our conversation.
True.
Right? So that's one of the things that like if anyone like sees this, and I always ask them to pick up, like if you're going to have a conversation with me about property or anyone, don't waste the value of that potential conversation by needing to understand what yields are.
Yeah,
or like
what you could have. Don't use this conversation to understand things you could have understood on your own. Use this conversation to get value from me that only I can give you.
Only I can give you.
I love that, man.
100%.
That's really great advice.
Yeah.
It really is.
100%. I love it. Look, this has been absolutely pleasurable. I was saying to somebody this morning that I think a measure of like manhood and success is when you go kind of full circle, right? So you go from being nervous and insecure right the way through the journey to things hardly ever make you nervous and insecure. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about our friendship, that we talk, laugh, be open with each other, make fun of each other, and it's all just neutral and a beautiful thing. It's a wicked conversation.
Yeah, man.
Thanks. Congratulations on the awards.
And to you too, man.
Likewise.
And thank you for having us.
I don't want to talk about my awards, but
The babies, the triplets, or quadruplets.
thanks, man.
Big up
Appreciate it.
yourself, man. Thank you.
Thank you.